Hey guys, it's Amy at Zoe Beck, and I'm going to do the no disclaimers tag. This was created by Michael at Catalyst Reads, and I was tagged by MaggieChatsBooks. Thank you. Anyway, so we're going to go through this. I think there's like 8 questions and then who's I'm tagging, so we'll just go through this. So the first question is, what trope or tropes in books annoy you the most? Again, I'm going with cliches here, and I think my biggest one is liars. Now, I don't mean that there aren't reasons to lie all the time. I think we all tell little white lies all the time and they explode into bigger things, which is what a lot of books are based off of. My issue is the thing where somebody lies about who they are by pretending to be somebody else in order for a financial gain. And again, I'm not talking about thrillers and spy thrillers, you know, where they're lying because they're trying to get secrets. And again, that's different motivations. I think I have issues with the motivations that are monetary. Like somebody just says, hey, you look like so-and-so who died, but I can get an inheritance with you. So let's pretend, you pretend to be them. And, you know, and I don't like it. I don't like the whole lying thing. I don't like that whole thing. So I don't know. That just might be me. I just don't like lying. And then the other one is I have nothing against second chance romances as a thread in any type of story overall. But there was a period in urban fantasies, and I think it was the early 2000s, where I read like 4 or 5 books where the first book all dealt with women who were these strong, independent people who, but then their ex-boyfriends or ex-lovers came back into the picture, and it was either just wrecked everything that they had set up, or, you know, it didn't work for me that so many did the same trope, and I got tired of it. And again, one of them worked out really well. Like, it made sense why she left him and why she was trying to move on. And that one I believed. Most of them I was like, you know, they're just trying to do the love triangle thing. But the one that pissed me off was the one where this woman was trying to help someone who was, I don't remember if he was injured or he needed something. And then she needed to find this guy in this pack who was like the leader or something. So she needed to find him. But she's going out into the wilderness to find him, but she sends her ex-lover. So instead of following the path for the guy she needs to help this other guy that she's trying to help, she follows the scent for her ex-lover, and that pissed me off, and I threw the book across the room. I go, that's ridiculous. Use your brain. You're old enough to know that you're trying to save this guy. Do not be following somebody else's scent. It made no sense. Like, it's an ex-boyfriend. Let it go. And maybe it's just because I have no desire to go backwards in time myself that I don't think that it always works. So that's definitely one I don't like. Sorry. I don't know. Anyway, sorry about that. So question number 2 is, what writer or writers do you feel are overrated or overhyped? Again, I think this is a personal opinion. There's going to be a lot of people that get a lot of praise for their books that I'm never going to read those books. So to me, they seem overhyped. But I'm going to go with an example of 2 fantasy writers. And the reason I'm going to call these guys overrated and overhyped is because everybody is just waiting for them to write their books. And so you guys know what I'm talking about is George R.R. Martin and Patrick Rothfuss. Now, everybody's just waiting for the next book, and they keep pushing off the dates, and it's been years since they published anything. And I think this hype is just growing and growing. And again, I know their books are pretty good. I've read one of each of them. I just, Game of Thrones, I was just like, that was okay. I liked The Name of the Wind fairly well. I want to continue, but I'm not going to read anything until I have a publication date. And again, it has to do with, I think it's just kind of the hype has grown around them. I think their books are fine. I just don't think they're as fantastic as everybody claims. That's my personal opinion. Question number 3 is, what is your least favorite books that you've read since joining BookTube? Okay, so I'm going to name a couple here. The first one is I read Peter Pan and I hated it. I don't know why people like this book. I disliked it from the beginning. The narrator drove me crazy. Peter Pan, of course, is a jerk, and Tinkerbell needs to be slapped upside the head. Like, I was like, Tinkerbell, like, okay, anyway, I don't know. Like, again, I know the Disney version changes it around quite a bit, but man, I'm like, that book was, I did not like that. And again, I read it to read another book that was a retelling, which didn't work out. And I love that author's books, but the retelling didn't work for me either because I didn't like the story. Another book I'm going to mention is See What I've Done by Sarah Schmidt. Now, again, this I think is a thing with my history of love of history, is that I've read several things on Lizzie Borden. And so I was kind of interested to see how she twisted the story and stuff. Well, I didn't like any of the twists. I didn't like the way she portrayed Lizzie. I didn't like the I didn't like some of the stuff that happened with the sister. I didn't like, and you know, the poor maid, and then the guy they just threw in there for the heck of it. I don't know. So I did not like this book. I finished it just because I wanted to see how they were going to wrap it up. And again, I mean, she wrapped it up to where I kind of thought was going to happen, but it was still like one of those things where I'm like, that was not what I expected, because everybody was raving about it, and I'm like, no. Midnight at the Bright Ideas Bookstore by Matthew J. Sullivan. This is another book where a lot of people are talking about this great mystery, blah, blah, blah. I read it and I'm like, I caught like everything. I think there was one twist. I was like, oh, well, that was kind of good. Everything else I like knew before it happened. Like, I'm like, okay, that's, yeah. So it was kind of boring to me. I didn't enjoy it. I thought there was so much potential to do more, and it just did not happen. So I did not enjoy that book. And then the last book is one that I DNF'd that I'm kind of sad I did, except that I'm never picking that book up again. Other than to get rid of it, and that is The Shadow of the Wind by Carlos Ruiz Zafón. So I did not like this, and again, maybe it's one of those cliche things that happened at the end of, on page 46, where a character does something that I'm like, that was the most stupidest thing you could, why did you do that? And I just can't forgive them, and the book's gone, so, or it's going to be gone here pretty soon. Anyway, so, sorry, I know a lot of people like that book, but not all of us want to go past that. So question number 4 is a terrible ending that ruined an otherwise quality book. So this one was hard for me. I actually, a lot of times if an ending, I don't like an ending, even if the book is pretty good throughout, I'm going to get rid of that book, because what's the point of keeping a book? I'm still going to be disappointed about the ending. So I really had trouble thinking about this. So I kind of went through, went back through my Goodreads trying to think, well, is there any books I remember that I read? And then again, I found one that I read from the library, so that's probably why I don't have it. So I went with Colorless to Sakura Tazaki and His Years of Pilgrimage by Haruki Murakami. And I like Murakami overall. Like, I would say, 70% of his books I really like. And there's a few that are meh. This is my meh one. So this is pretty good through it, because there was this mystery of why did this guy have these friends who just dropped him, like just suddenly didn't want to talk to him anymore, and no one would tell him why, and he didn't know what was going on. So there was kind of that little mystery of what's going on, because one of them had, I think, passed away at some point, and so they weren't able to tell their part of the story. But it was just like, I don't know. It got to the end, and I'm like, that's it. That's it wasn't enough. It just disappointed me. And again, a lot of his books I like overall, and usually I don't hate the ending quite so much as it was just like, well, I didn't hate. I just was like, that wasn't what I wanted. That's not where I wanted it to go. But anyway. All right. So question number 5 is, what fictional characters do you wish were not killed off? Okay, I'm gonna have 2 book examples here. The first one is this urban fantasy I read last year called Dead Things by Stephen Blackmore. It was the first in the series, and I pretty much hated this book from the beginning. And again, it's just a character thing. He just did everything that I didn't want him to do, and it just kind of, every time he tried to do something better, he'd just get worse. But there was one character that was a really good character all the way through the book, and I liked him, and we got near the end of the book, and I go, don't kill his character. If you kill his character, we are done. He killed that character, and we are done. Anyway, so that series I am not reading anymore. No one could make me read another book in that series, because I was so angry at the end. So, and then the other one is, because it's there's a new TV series, The Alienist by Caleb Carr has been on my mind, and I remembered how much I hated who dies in the end of that book. So I'm sorry, there's a spoiler there, but there's someone who dies, and I do not think that that was necessary, and I was not happy. So anyway, that was just my opinion. So question number 6 is, what are some of your bookish pet peeves? So I'm looking at more how the book itself is, or writing wise. So I like punctuation. I am very big on punctuation. I read a book earlier, just last month, that had no quotations, and it took me forever to get used to that. I don't like that style personally. I like punctuation that makes sense. And so there's also, like, I read another book that was like had ellipses the whole time, so that dot dot dot, so like trail off, that they don't finish their sentences. Once in a while that works. I even use that, like, in my writing. Like, every once in a while you just trail off, and I agree with that. But this is like all the time. Like, half of the conversations were like you didn't get the rest of the sentence. And I'm like, I can't handle that. Just tell me what they're thinking or what they're saying. Just get it done. Like, there's no reason to leave it open-ended like that. You could use a few more words to tell us what's going on. And then the other one is, I'm not really big on super short chapters, but I'm not really big in super long chapters unless they have a lot of breaks in them. So I'm one of those readers who does a lot of stuff in between. Like I read a lot in front of the television, so I'm stopping all the time to look. So it's just, I don't like chapters that go on forever and ever and ever and there's no breaks. I just feel like you make progress when there's a break. I don't like super short chapters either, because it feels like you're turning the pages way too fast, and I don't know, it just does, I don't like that feel. I know a lot of people like that. They think that it feels like the book goes faster, but I feel like I'm missing things, like there's not enough in them. So I like chapters that are good size, but as long as they have some breaks in them so that you break up the narrative so the reader their eyes get a break with a break. I don't know, for some reason. Anyway, that's what I'm sorry. That's a writer thing. Anyway, number 7, what are some books that you feel should have some more recognition? I'm going to just name some of my favorite authors. Again, Tad Williams. I think you guys should read everything by him. He's awesome. I said his Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn series is my favorite core one. And of course, now he's writing the new series, The Last King of Ostenar. I love his Otherland series if you want more of the kind of computer tech ones, but with fantasy. It's awesome. And again, there's a Bobby Dollar series that's urban fantasies, the Angels and Demons, which is really fun. I also want to mention Ada Palmer and her Tarek Nada series. I just love that series. I'm like, I can't wait for the next book, and I'm like, I just read the third one, so it's a great series. Again, it's a dystopian like that. And then another author I want to mention is Nalini Singh, if you want more paranormal romance. I think it's a great, both of her Guild Hunter series and as well as her Side Changeling series, which are both, 10 books to, I think one's 10, one's 16. They're really long and involved, but they're so quick and fun I just love the books. Like, the world building just grows and grows, and the arcs in the books are really well done and plotted, and I think it's really well done, and I just love those characters too. And then, the last one I want to talk about is one I've never heard on BookTube is Taylor Anderson's Destroyerman series. So this is a series about a destroyer in World War II which gets sucked into another dimension pretty much, and it's a different version of Earth where other creatures have evolved differently than what our Earth has evolved. So there's different creatures and that are sentient, and they talk, and it's great. I just love this series. I've only read like 5 of the books, which I need to read more of, because it's like, I guess there's like 12 or 13 books now, or almost 13. So I need to catch up, but I really encourage that one for a fantasy. I just think it's interesting. I really enjoyed the first few books, and I need to read more of that. And then number 8 is, what are your thoughts on censorship and banning books? Now, I personally do not think any of that is a good idea, because I grew up in a household where my parents encouraged us to read and let us read whatever we wanted. We either by getting something at the library, either at school or at the public library, or going through the shelves my dad had books on, and we just were able to read. And even though I read a lot younger, I read kind of like same genres up until I got into my middle school years, but it was like I still could explore things. It didn't matter what I was reading, as long as I was reading, that's all they cared about. And I think that was great. They let me go into all the, all this horror stuff when I got into my teens. And then I was reading a lot of mysteries, and I was reading that, and fantasies. And it was just like, I read a lot of different things, but because they didn't stop me from doing that, I got to read all this stuff. And I read some stuff that maybe I shouldn't have read at that age, but that's what happened, and I can't change that, and I don't want to change that. So I don't think anybody should have to deal with that. So I don't think banning or censorship is a good idea, personally. So that is the end of the tag. Question number 9 is, who do you tag? So I'm going to tag Leah over at Hyde Seek, and Shaun from On The Stoop. So if you guys want to do this, that would be great. If not, anybody who wants to do it can do it. I think it's a great tag. It was fun. So anyway, I will talk to you guys later. Bye.